This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
I am so excited for this spa day. Candles lit, music on, hot tub warm and ready. And then my chronic hives come back. Again, in the middle of my spa day. What a wet blanket. Looks like another spell of itchy red skin. If you have chronic spontaneous urticaria, or CSU, there is a different treatment option. Hives during my next spa day? Not if I can help it. Learn more at treatmyhives.com.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Wednesday, November 26th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Clouds this morning, showers this afternoon, but it's going to be mild. High 61. Tonight and overnight rain, low 41, and then nice weather for the parade. It'll be cold, but a mix of sun and clouds, the high 44. If you're walking out the door with us right now, 52 and cloudy in Nyack up in Rockland County. It's 50 and cloudy in Pompton Lakes over in New Jersey, and it's 54 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios.
This is the Top 5 at 5.
Pink slips being handed out at City Hall. Fire Commissioner Tucker dishes on why he's really stepping down. The rush out of town, it's in high gear this morning. Neighbors in One Queens Hood want to know why cops have not come to the rescue. And doctors worry you could get more than a tummy ache at the Thanksgiving table. All right, let's get into it at 5:01. If you're listening to me at this early hour, either you're somebody who has to go to work or you're on the roads trying to get out before the crush is on, because the Thanksgiving travel crush will go into high gear today. Here's some people at the airport with some advice.
Everything goes smoother if you're patient and kind and helpful, and it just makes it easier on everybody traveling.
Good luck with that. Air traffic control staffing back up to pre-government shutdown levels. Flights largely on schedule. Now, I say largely on schedule. You get a lot of delays. I was looking this morning. Yesterday, there were a couple hundred delays between the big three area airports. It doesn't look terrible yet, but of course it's only 5:01. Forecasters, of course, warning that flights will be impacted by there's a snowstorm out in the Midwest. We're going to have rain today. You know, that always does a number on it as well. Here's somebody who's in Dallas up early at the airport there, the DFW.
It's not a crazy day at DFW, which is such an awesome experience. Terminal D is crushing it.
And we found these flyers at MacArthur Airport early this morning on Long Island.
I was nervous. I'm trying to get home and get some turkey.
I've been checking on the app, and it says on time, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, all right. Millions, of course, going to hit the road, already hitting the road. AAA says if you haven't gotten out the door even yet this morning, you're probably in for some, not packed roadways, but there'll be more people than there usually out at 5:02 in the morning.
Holiday time is horrible. Everybody come in from out of state and flood the roadways. Stay home with the family, enjoy the kids, and enjoy the holiday.
It's a season of thanks, and people, should be civil and kind to each other.
It'll be a busy day again at the Hunts Point Market up in the Bronx. Joe, who runs the fancy foods booth up there, says they moved about 18,000 turkeys this year. Even though it was a hard year on farms out in the Midwest, they had all kinds of sickness that killed so many turkeys. They had to put a lot of turkeys to death, and so that's why you're paying a little bit more this year.
We did the whole gamut of them, but we just couldn't get enough of what we needed, especially on the frozen grade A's. Due to infectious diseases and due to short supply and people closing up, there was a lot of companies that went out of business. Yeah,
wholesalers like Marty's Wayne Meats, say farms out west have been highly impacted by these flus that have just run flocks. Turkey sellers in the Bronx explaining that that's just all adding to the cost this year.
The avian flu has had a major impact this year. There's a major shortage in supply. The prices are up dramatically, probably as much as 80% compared to last year.
And once one gets gets it. It goes from plant to plant to plant to plant. We'll get through it. It'll be something else. But it was a very tight year on turkeys.
Yeah. Oh, there's always a tofurkey, I guess, if you want one of those. Thanksgiving fixings are a little more expensive this year. Dinner rolls, mashed potatoes, things like that, just a little bit higher than they were a year ago. We are watching as Governor Hochul, Cardinal Timothy Dolan, and they were handing out turkeys to families ahead of Thanksgiving yesterday. The governor joining Catholic Charities to distribute turkeys and fixings to families.
Life can be hard sometimes, but I believe to our core, we're better than that. We're New Yorkers. We stand together. We help each other in our time of need. That is how I was raised as a social justice Catholic. That is how I know everyone in New York feels.
Yeah, the bird may be thawing in your fridge at this hour. Your counters have been probably over the last couple of days, if you're the one hosting Thanksgiving, covered with supplies as you get the baking done. So what could go wrong?
Salmonella in the stuffing, undercooked turkey, overcooked turkey, things forgotten in the oven, catching on fire, cut hands, cooking the bird without removing the giblets or the outer wrapping. Food experts say it happens. Also, visits to the ER on Thanksgiving go up due to burns and sports injuries from that pre-dinner game. They say redirections put down the alcohol, but still have fun. I'm Bree Tennis.
Yeah, some of this can only get through with having that alcohol. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg says he'll retry the man convicted in the 1979 kidnapping and murder of 6-year-old Eitan Pates.
Hernandez was found guilty in 2017 and sentenced to 25 years to life for abducting and murdering the boy. He'd admitted luring Eitan into a basement in New York City's Soho neighborhood, but this past July, a federal judge overturned his conviction due to an error by a state judge, ruling that Hernandez must be retried or else released. Eitan's body was never found, and he became the first missing child featured on a milk carton. I'm Sarah Lee Kessler.
WABC News Time 5:05. California first responders still searching for a New Jersey soldier who disappeared in the ocean last Friday off Big Sur. The Monterey County Sheriff's Office tells us that Army specialists Amanpreet Thunda and 2 women were swept away inside Garapata State Park. The women made it back to shore, but Thunda did not, so he is missing. Now they're calling it, initially it was a search and rescue mission. Now it's turned into a search and recovery operation. Back here in New York, former FDNY Commissioner Robert Tucker speaking out for the first time following his decision to quit just hours after Zohran Mamdani was elected mayor.
Tucker, a wealthy Jewish philanthropist, said in an interview with CBS Mornings that's set to air this week, his religion was a factor in the decision, saying he was turned off by the Democratic Socialists' campaign. Mamdani will be the city's first Muslim mayor and has many Jewish New Yorkers worried about his anti-Israel, pro-Palestine rhetoric. Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch, also a Jewish philanthropist, has decided to stay on as top cop with the Mamdani administration, prompting UJA Federation United Jewish Appeal to call the decision reassuring amid escalating anti-Semitism. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
And we're going to hear more from Tucker after 5:30 this morning. All over New York City, the 77 WABC Radio Foundation focuses on giving back. And on the Saturday before Thanksgiving, that included the chance to give away 10,000 turkeys to New York City families at the Police Athletic League's Harlem Center. John and Margot, of course, the Katsimatidis, station owners, operators, say the holidays are a good time to put aside differences and just come together. On the station's first couple, they were at Carnegie Hall on Sunday in support of the Gong Family Foundation and the U.S.-China Cultural Foundation. 77 WABC, we're always giving back to our community. WABC News Time 5:10. The search on for a Virginia high school football coach after he was declared a fugitive yesterday. Correspondent Liam Bridgman has more.
Around 10:45 a.m. this morning, Virginia State Police alerted us that they filed charges against Travis Turner. They also sent a video statement telling us more charges could be coming.
If you haven't been following this story, police say they've obtained warrants to charge Turner with possession of child pornography using a computer to solicit a minor. Turner was reported missing last Friday after authorities went to his home in Appalachia. The 46-year-old coaches the Union High School football team in Big Stone Gap. That's the town there. The school district says it's placed a staff member on administrative leave because of an allegation, but they wouldn't specify it was the coach. Now, it's clear that it must be the coach. The question is, where is he? And we've had rumors that he has a rifle with him, but no confirmation of that. His wife, she took to social media yesterday to say he has done no wrong and that he should come back home right away. WABC News Time 511, inflation outpacing home prices for the fourth straight month.
The latest S&P Case-Shiller National Home Price Index posted a 1.3% annual gain for September, which is down slightly from the previous month. September's CPI came in 1.7% above housing appreciation. All 20 major metro areas recorded monthly declines as high mortgage rates keep many home buyers sidelined. On a regional basis, the Northeast outperformed the rest of the nation. Cities in the Sun Belt, including Tampa and Phoenix, posted the largest drop in home values. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Down to D.C., where the Pentagon says it's opening a misconduct investigation into Arizona Senator Mark Kelly. Correspondent Garrett Hake reports it's related to his appearance in a video in which lawmakers told service members they don't have to obey illegal orders.
In the wake of the video's release, President Trump accused the lawmakers of sedition, punishable by death, and shared a post that said, quote, hang them. Later clarifying.
Yeah, the president later said he was threatening death, but suggested the lawmakers are in serious trouble. Kelly is the only lawmaker in the video who is retired from the military. That means the Arizona Democrat could be called to active duty to face a court-martial.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announcing an inquiry into the retired Navy captain and astronaut, calling the lawmaker's video, quote, despicable, reckless, and false. The department says it's probing whether the video was intended to interfere with the loyalty, morale, or good order and discipline of the armed forces. An extraordinary escalation today in the Trump administration's efforts to target the president's critics, with Arizona Senator Mark Kelly now facing a Defense Department investigation.
Yeah, Kelly is a retired Navy captain, astronaut, and the husband of former Arizona Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords. She was the one who was shot in the head during a 2011 event in Arizona. 5:13, congressional Democrats crying foul, claiming U.S. citizens are being abused by federal immigration agents, ICE agents.
We've all seen the videos. We've heard the eyewitness testimony. There is a systemic pattern of criminal behavior happening.
That's California Congressman David Min. He was part of a conference which included testimony from alleged victims. Some of them said they were held for days before they were released. Min says the stories he's heard from victims have been completely shocking.
Attacking people in the streets, pulling guns on innocent bystanders, spraying bear mace at people. We need some damn answers, because what we're seeing right now is a pattern of lawlessness.
So Democrats have launched what they've called an immigration enforcement dashboard. It's an online tool, they say, that documents verified incidents of possible misconduct by ICE agents. 5:13, the White House is denying a report that President Trump is considering removing FBI Director Kash Patel in the coming months. Yesterday, NBC cited 3 people with knowledge of the situation who say Patel's top aides have become frustrated with headlines generated by Patel, and that top FBI official Andrew Bailey is being considered to replace him.
No, he's doing a good job. Kash Patel? No, he's doing a great job, I think.
Yeah, that was President Trump last night aboard Air Force One, spoke in support of Patel. Later, the White House press secretary Caroline Leavitt taking to X, putting up a post saying that the story is completely made up. The post included a picture of Patel and President Trump smiling in the White House. Multiple reports say Ukraine has agreed to a peace deal to end its war with Russia. Keir Simons reports it comes as delegations from the U.S., Ukraine, and Russia are in Abu Dhabi for peace talks.
The U.S. coming from another high-stakes meeting in Geneva, where Ukraine and Europe demanded changes to a Trump administration 28-point peace plan. The new plan seen as less favorable to Russia on questions like territory.
A U.S. official says just minor details need to be ironed out for the White House brokered deal to be finalized. Ukrainian President Zelensky could head to Washington by the end of this month to sign off on it.
The Russian government says it has not seen the modified plan. Ending the war can become doable, Zelensky said. The most delicate points I will discuss with President Trump.
But we are watching on correspondent Keir Simons reporting that while this deal is being discussed and while they're talking about all signing off on it, the two are just firing all kinds of missiles at each other.
Volodymyr Zelensky this morning reporting extensive damage. Kyiv authorities say at least 6 died. Relentless fighting just days before President Trump's Thanksgiving deadline for a deal. As Russia says, Ukrainian strikes overnight killed 3 people near the border.
Yeah, so the U.S.-led plan has been changed after Ukraine objected to parts that called for it to cede territory to Russia. And apparently that's what brought Ukraine in to sign off on this deal. Though they haven't officially signed off on it, they apparently will. All right, 5:16. Let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Happy Wednesday, which is kind of like a Friday for us. Good morning, Justin Ellick.
Yeah, it's happy de facto Friday. How about that?
I like it.
Yeah. We'll look ahead here to start to tonight on the hardwood. No local action in the way of sports last night, but you do have a 7 p.m. tip.
Wait, everybody had off?
Everybody had off.
Knicks,
no hockey
the Nets,
games.
The Rangers, the Islanders, and the Devils. Nobody played last night.
Nobody.
Wow.
Hoorah!
Yeah.
But the Marines, baby, they're always ready to go. Come on now. So the Knicks will be...
That's crazy that everybody was off. No?
That is a little weird. Yeah. I mean, if you think about how many times that happens around this time of the year, it's got to be very, very rare. So... Yeah, but you got a jam-packed night tonight, so we're making do here. The Knicks get a 7 p.m. tip out in Charlotte against the Hornets. That is NBA Cup group play nominated, so I know you have to tune into that.
Yes, I've been following it very closely.
I'm sure you have.
Actually, I'm going to wear my special jersey tonight as I watch the game.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the guys are they're glowing in the dark out there with the courts and their uniforms.
That's the crazy thing. One of the courts that I can't remember, I was watching a game over the weekend, and it was... like a bright yellow.
Yeah.
It was hard to watch. Seriously, it was hard to watch on TV. I was thinking, it must be really hard to play on.
You got to think it's like the guys that have to actually paint the court every time.
Yeah.
Because they're using, like, for each of these games, they're using different paint jobs and different sort of artistic little designs on the court. It's very abstract. So you would think at a certain point the people that are tasked with going out there and painting these courts are getting a little bit restless about it.
And for what, by the way? Because nobody even understands exactly what's going on.
Nobody has any clue what's going on. It's just at some point I know they'll give the NBA Cup to somebody.
Right.
That's all I know.
And they'll get cut a check, which I guess is good for them.
Exactly. But I have no idea how it works. No clue whatsoever. But anyway, you get that tonight. So, and then the game obviously will also count against, for the Knicks' overall record, by the way. So
that's true. Right. A win's a win.
It's still a regular season game.
Right, which is also confusing.
Got to keep that in mind. But, you also got 3 hockey games to look forward to tonight as well. Another triple header here locally. 3 7 p.m. puck drops as well. Devils will host the St. Louis Blues. Islanders will welcome in the Boston Bruins and the Rangers. They're out in Carolina against the Hurricanes. To the NFL here, quarterbacks Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers, along with wide receiver Larry Fitzgerald, tight end Jason Witten, and running back Frank Gore made it to the semifinal stage in their first year of eligibility for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The 5 newcomers are among the 26 modern-era candidates who advanced to the stage in voting conducted by the full 50-member selection committee for the class of 2026. The committee will next reduce the list of 15 finalists who will be voted on before the Super Bowl in February. 4 players guaranteed themselves spots in the semifinal stage after making it down to the final 7 players in the 25 class. Willie Anderson, Torrey Holt, Luke Kuechly, and Adam Vinatieri taking those spots. The other returning semifinalists are, of course, Eli Manning. We're looking forward to hopefully him getting in, I should say. Fred Taylor, Steve Smith Sr., Reggie Wayne, Jari Evans, Marshall Yanda, Terrell Suggs, and Darren Woodson. That is your Sports Noah Man. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 521. Let's go down to Florida. South Florida Congresswoman Sheila Sirfulis McCormick charged with stealing a multi-million-dollar COVID relief fund overpayment and using that money towards her 2021 campaign for Congress. Her attorney here says her client is being targeted because of her race.
DOJ decided to indict a black Democratic congresswoman without giving her attorneys the opportunity to meet with them. And I think if there's anything that we have learned in recent times, this government is willing to charge and indict and arrest somebody without actual evidence.
Federal prosecutors pushing back against that, saying the indictment includes evidence, in particular text messages between the congresswoman and her co-defendants, as well as was checks written by her team that were drawn from that $5 million overpayment COVID payment. The race for governor in California narrowing a bit as Democratic billionaire businessman Stephen Klubeck is dropping out, and he has endorsed Democrat Eric Swalwell. Swalwell broke the news that he was running last week during an appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live.
This great state needs a fighter and a protector, someone who will bring prices down, lift wages up. And we can say that we're the fourth largest economy in the world, and we are, and I love to brag about that. But what does that mean if you can't afford to live here?
So the Democratic primary, it's not until June, but of course everybody's getting in. Democrats like Congresswoman Katie Porter is expected to run, former Attorney General Xavier Becerra, and former Los Angeles Mayor Antonia Villarosa. Recently, political donor Tom Steyer also announced his candidacy. And on the Republican side, Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco is running, as is political commentator Steve Hilton. 523, the Trump administration planning now to raise prices for foreign tourists who visit our national parks.
The Interior Department announced Tuesday would increase the price of annual park passes for non-residents to $250 starting next year. Meanwhile, U.S. residents will have to pay $80 for an annual pass. International visitors to the nation's 11 most popular national parks will also be charged an extra $100 in addition to the standard entrance fee if they don't have an annual pass. The change is part of an effort by the Interior Department to modernize national park access. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Novo Nordisk says an oral version of its weight loss drug failed to help slow the progression of Alzheimer's for patients taking part in 2 studies. A lot of people are watching this study very closely. It involved more than 3,000 early-stage patients who were assessed for changes over the course of 2 years, and it evaluated whether an older semaglutide formulation was more effective than a placebo. But according to Novo Nordisk, while the drug was not found to slow cognitive decline, it did show an effect on Alzheimer's biomarkers, but the company didn't specify which ones. According to Alzheimer's Disease International, more than 55 million people worldwide live with Alzheimer's and other dementias. 524, retail sales, they slowed in September.
Government figures show sales increased 0.2% as retailers posted the smallest gain in 4 months. Excluding autos, retail sales came in a bit softer than expected. Sales at bars and restaurants posted the biggest gain at 0.7%. On an annual basis, retail sales were up 4.3%. I'm Matt Mattinson.
And not a lot of people talking about the fact that it's really hard to find a job right now. Private companies lost an average of 13,000 jobs a week over the past 4 weeks. So we're relying on ADP and private companies for the job numbers because of the government shutdown. We're going to get those job numbers late. But what they show is there are more layoffs than there have been, and fewer people are being hired than they were. And if you want more in-depth look into that, I'll give myself a plug. Head over to 77 WABC or WABCRadio.com, or better than that. And you can check out my latest piece on why the job market is so sluggish and how you might find a job amid what's a really tough time, especially for college grads. If you have a college grad at home, more likely than not, they're having a really hard time finding a gig right now. I explain in that article exactly why. 526, a pair of turkeys pardoned by President Trump at the White House yesterday. The turkeys named Gobble and Waddle got their paperwork signed by the president in the Rose Garden.
In a few moments, I will grant a full, absolute, and unconditional presidential pardon to 2 handsome Thanksgiving turkeys, and this is their lucky day. This is a lucky day for them.
President Trump took a shot at President Biden, saying the turkey pardons last year were determined to be invalid because they were signed by an auto pen.
He used an auto pen last year for the turkey's pardon. So I have the official duty to determine, and I have determined that last year's turkey pardons are totally invalid. The turkeys being pardoned today go by the names of Gobble and Waddle. When I first saw their pictures, I thought we should send them, I shouldn't say this. I was going to call them Chuck and Nancy. But then I realized I wouldn't be pardoning them. I would never pardon those 2 people.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Tuesday. No, it's Wednesday. Oh my God, what is with my brain today? I am going backwards. That's not good. It is Wednesday, November 26th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Clouds this morning, showers this afternoon. Going to be warm, the high 61. And then tonight and overnight, more rain, low 41. But good weather for the parade. It'll be cold, but sunshine. The high tomorrow is 44. So if you're walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are. It's 52 cloudy in Nyack up in Rockland County. It's 50 and cloudy in Pompton Lakes over in New Jersey. And it's 54 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios. WABC News Time 540. Robert Tucker, now soon to be the former FDNY commissioner. He's still commissioner today, but will step down in December. Do you remember? It was a day or two after Zoran Mamdani won the election. He announced that he was going to step down. And then he came on with Sid and Friends in the morning. And he didn't detail exactly why he was stepping down. Sid filled in the details, basically saying you're stepping down because you're Jewish and you don't want to work for this mayor. He didn't argue it, but he didn't agree. But he did sit down now for an interview with CBS Mornings. They're going to air it a little bit later this morning, but we got a clip of this interview where he said, yeah, the reason I'm stepping down is I'm Jewish and I don't feel comfortable working for this mayor.
I respect the fact that these jobs are coveted, and I don't want to leave as much unfinished business as I am leaving, but I thought it was the right time to depart.
I guess I'm just struggling to connect the dots here. 35 commissioners in more than 100 years, that would make the average to be about 3 years. You say there's work still to do, and you're leaving.
Yeah. Look, it's a complicated, emotional decision to leave, but ideologically, there's no doubt that the mayor and I disagree on some very fundamental things to me.
Yeah, and then, of course, you have the police commissioner, who's also Jewish, Jessica Tisch, has decided to stay on, prompting the UJA Federation here in the city to call her decision reassuring amid what they call escalating anti-Semitism. Pink slips handed out yesterday to a large chunk of Mayor Adams' inner circle.
More than 150 senior members of the Adams administration, up to 179 people in some reports, told by the transition team of Mayor-elect Zoran Mamdani they're expected to leave their posts by January 1st. That list includes Adams deputy mayors, commissioners, members of Adams community assistance units, and others who serve at the pleasure of the mayor. A Mamdani spokeswoman says it's standard practice to make way for people Mamdani wants on the job instead. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New York.
And the mayor-elect himself, Zoran Mamdani, says he's raised about $2 million for what he calls a people-powered transition.
The Democratic Socialist says more than 25,000 donors have contributed an average of $75 each over the last 20 days to ensure he'll be, as he says, ready to deliver day one. And Mamdani says this is in contrast to the average donation for the Adams transition team, which was more than $1,000. It was up to $2,400 for de Blasio's transition team, so both much higher amounts. Mamdani says the money he's raised is reflective of the city and its support for his affordability agenda. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
WABC News Time 543. The NYPD releasing images now of two men accused of beating a man and hitting his wife during a car drag racing meetup in College Point, Queens over the weekend. That meetup featured vehicles doing donuts, drag racing Saturday into Sunday morning at the intersection of 141st Street, and it ended with the attacks on this neighbor and a car fire. So Blake Farrer, he's the guy who says he was beaten up by this group. He says he saw them drag racing on his street. He knew his kid was out, not with the drag racers, but out for the evening and was coming home. So he says he stepped outside his house to make sure that his kid got through the drag racers okay and was able to get home. And he says that's when this fight started. He says this group attacked him. It was not pretty.
I started to have groups of kids congregate in front of my house on the property, get hit
from behind. I went down. My only regret is not getting one shot at it.
Yeah, so residents say cars were doing donuts, fireworks were set off, a private security guard vehicle that was in the middle of the intersection to try to stop this group. That group set that car on fire, and they also viciously attacked Ferrer, and after he tried to talk to them.
Fractured nose, fractured shoulder, fractured ribs, fractured my cartilage and my thyroid. It runs the gamut.
Yeah, he says police were way too slow to respond. Now, they are disputing that, but he says that the only medical help he got was from the fire department that had showed up to put out that car fire. He said they're the ones that gave him assistance.
NYPD failed us at this point because nobody was here. There was an ambulance up the block, probably because the fire department was called when the car was on fire.
Meanwhile, the creeps, the attackers involved in that dust-up, they're still on the loose this morning. 5:45. Let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Here's Justin Alec.
Thank you, Noam Layden. Start with a look ahead here to our local action tonight after a quiet night last night. The Knicks, they'll be back in action on the hardwood. 7 p.m. tip-off out in Charlotte against the Hornets. That is NBA Cup group play there. Right before a triple header on the ice. All three contests, I should say, are 7 p.m. starts. The Devils will welcome in the St. Louis Blues. The Islanders will host the Boston Bruins, and the Rangers will be out in Carolina against the Hurricanes. Ahead to the NFL here and some Hall of Fame news. Quarterbacks Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers, along with wide receiver Larry Fitzgerald, tight end Jason Witten, and running back Frank Gore made it to the semifinal stage in their first year of eligibility for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The 5 newcomers are among the 26 modern-era candidates who advanced to this stage in voting conducted by the full 50-member selection committee for the class of 26. The selection committee will next reduce the list to 15 finalists who will be voted on before the Super Bowl in February. 4 players guaranteed themselves spots in the semifinal stage after making it down to the final 7 players in the 25 class, with Willie Anderson, Torrey Holt, Luke Kuechly, and Adam Vinatieri taking those spots. The other returning semifinalists are Eli Manning, of course, Fred Taylor.
How does he not get in, Eli Manning? 2 Super Bowl wins?
Yeah,
right?
I would think he gets in this time around.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting debate when you talk about Eli Manning, because other than those 2 Super Bowl wins, which, by the way, I do believe is enough to get you in.
He wasn't that great.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree, but still 2 Super Bowl wins is big.
And if you look at who he beat in those
That's
Super Bowls.
right. Both times Patriots.
Now, I'm not sure if they're taking that into account, right? You know, whether or not you played Tom Brady and the Patriots in the Super Bowl, I'm not sure how much of an impact that has on the voting for you getting into the Hall of Fame, but I would imagine it's got to be in the minds of these writers that get to vote on this. So we'll see. But I would, if I were a betting man, which I am, I would say that Eli Manning squeezes his way in this year. So we'll see. That's your sports now.
By the way, the Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, great.
Yeah, you've been.
I was just there last summer. You have to go out of your way because it's in Canton, Ohio.
Yeah,
and there's nothing else to do in Canton, Ohio.
Well, a lot of these Hall of Fame, a lot of these, major sports Hall of Fames are in areas like that. The baseball Hall of Fame is in Cooperstown. You can't do anything in Cooperstown other than go to the Hall of Fame.
No, I mean, there's a town built around it, but Canton, no, there's nothing going around.
Oh, wow.
The Football Hall of Fame, and then it's kind of a dangerous neighborhood outside of that. But I have to say it was excellent.
All right, I gotta check that off my bucket list then.
Only if you're somewhere nearby.
Right, exactly. I'm not gonna drive out to Canton, Ohio, just to see the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Hey, stop the car! What's that?
Yeah, whoa, hey now.
Are we in Canton?
We must be.
Noam said it was great. Let's go in.
Let's go in.
Right,
Come on.
Exactly.
Was that gunfire? No, don't worry about it.
Do we still have our tires?
Oh, the town is so depressing.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. That's your sports now. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:50. Let's go out to Floral Park, Long Island, where a man who was accused of hitting an 11-year-old girl in the face during a soccer match was found not guilty of assault yesterday, but guilty of endangering the welfare of a child. The jury in the Michael Stallone case deliberated for about an hour and a half yesterday. The families of both Stallone and the 11-year-old girl incredibly emotional after that verdict was read. Here's the father of the 11-year-old girl who was hit in the face. Now, the coach claims it was an accident, but the family doesn't believe that.
No, but assaulting a kid on the soccer field, not guilty? What did she do wrong? Tell me, what did she do wrong?
Stallone took the stand yesterday, or rather Monday during the trial, said he never hit or injured anyone and that he was only trying to help after two girls collided. But prosecutors and the girl's family say the girl's injuries to her face are from Stallone's slap, not the collision. Here's Stallone's lawyer.
I'm disappointed. I think they split the baby, and I guess it doesn't really shock me. I knew the harder of the charges to kind of disprove would be the endangering the welfare of a child, because it's kind of an amorphous, kind of charge. Is it likely to create a mental, a physical, potential harm to a child? And that was a difficult charge. I knew that going in.
Yeah, but at the end, it was a split verdict. 5:52, you're heading out for Thanksgiving likely, or maybe having people over for the big holiday. And the doctors are warning you that the flu season has started early this year, and apparently it is going to be a nasty one. There's a new strain of the flu that they're very worried about. Scientists are pointing to higher rates of illness in the UK and Japan, driven by the latest strain of this flu that's called the subclade K, and they fear it's the same thing that will hit after Thanksgiving tables are shared. And so doctors are warning. I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do because apparently the flu shot, if you got it, doesn't really cover this.
We learn best from the experiences of flu cases across the world, and we're seeing a lot of significant increase across the world, so I know it's going to be here as well.
That creates what we call a mismatch. That increases the concern that the flu might be able to evade our immune response and reduce the effectiveness of the vaccine.
And just to make you more worried, doctors have another worry, a norovirus. That's the worst one. The contagious infection, commonly called the stomach flu, but is not connected to influenza. The CDC's latest figures highlight a surge in the number of norovirus cases. They're much higher than they were a year ago. So what can you do to protect yourself?
You want to make sure that you wash your hands before you eat, avoid touching your face, and if you're not feeling well, best to sit out. You don't want to get somebody vulnerable.
Yeah, and people who are, holding Thanksgiving meals at their houses or going to someone else's, this is what they're saying. Like, if you're sick, stay home. I mean, there's always somebody, though, who's like coughing up a lung at the Thanksgiving table.
We're telling them to, just keep it safe. Hopefully if anybody's sick, stay home.
We always have that one family member that slips through the cracks. Yeah. You know what? We know the food's going to be good enough, so we're not so sick.
Yeah, so whatever. Good luck. We're on the move. As you've been hearing from Joe Nolan all morning, the roads will likely get more packed as the morning wears on. If you're leaving at this hour, you're probably doing A-OK. The airports, everything's pretty good at this hour as well, and what is normally the busiest day of the year.
I was nervous. I'm trying to get home and get some turkey.
I've been checking on the app, and it says on time, so fingers crossed.
All right, AAA out as they always do with their numbers. 82 million Americans expected to travel 50 miles or more for Thanksgiving, the vast majority driving. That's why it will get busier as the morning wears on.
I've spent the last 3 hours getting here from Connecticut.
It's been a nightmare.
Did you expect the traffic to be this bad?
No. I spent like 3 hours on the road. Usually 45 minutes.
Yeah, those were some people who were traveling last night. Now, there was a lot of rain last night, so that definitely played into the tie-ups. So if you leave early at this early hour, you're okay. If you leave like 11 or 12 o'clock, likely you will run into some traffic jams.
I think it's best to leave out of the city a day in advance before the actual holiday.
Mm-hmm. Wednesday historically has been the busiest driving day, the busiest flying day.
All right, but at this early hour, as we've heard from Joe, not too bad out there, and the airports are doing okay. Keep our fingers crossed that continues as the day wears on. And it is almost Turkey Day, so here's a few tips for avoiding a fire in your house.
Always keep safety top of mind when you're cooking your Thanksgiving feast.
Thanksgiving is the peak day for home cooking fires, and with more than 3 times the daily average. Cooking causes half, over 52%, of all reported home fires.
Fire Marshal Blaise Ingaglia says use common sense, especially if you're frying your bird. Keep the fryer away from your home at ground level. Make sure your turkey is completely thawed before putting it into the hot oil, and do not overfill the fryer. Keep your kids far away and your fire extinguisher close by. Lisa Ritchie, 77 WABC News.
And if you're looking for something to do after you've pushed yourself away from the table on Thursday, you're like, Friday, I'm stuck with the family still. How about heading heading up to the Bronx.
The holiday train show at the New York Botanical Garden is a winter wonderland of New York City landmarks made of wood chips, bark, leaves, and plant materials. You'll see miniature renditions of the original Penn Station. One of the new model landmarks is the updated Delacorte Theater in Central Park, as the garden's Jennifer Bernstein explains to Pix 11 News.
Sometimes it's a place that we've wanted to bring to life for a long time, like the Whitneys. Sometimes it's a celebration of something that's happened recently, like in the case of the Delacorte.
The holiday train show is now in its 34th year and runs through January 11th. Lisa G., 77 WABC News.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?